Chargers offensive performance summary. The Los Angeles Chargers offense in the embryonic phase of the 2025 season has crystallized into a tenacious, ground-pounding entity under the stewardship of head coach Jim Harbaugh. As illuminated by a granular examination of 80 plays that aggregated 348 total yards, at a deliberate average of 4.35 yards per play, accompanied by a 52.5% success rate for plays accruing positive yardage. Passing dominated with 42 plays, encompassing 53% of the corpus, and furnishing an average of 5.7 yards per attempt, in contrast to the rushing contingent of 38 plays that averaged 3.4 yards per carry, a figure buoyed by zone schemes yielding 2.29 yards after contact per attempt. Formational predilections gravitated toward disseminated spread configurations, notably the 2x2 archetype in 21 plays and the 3x1 paradigm in 18 plays, though the judicious application of motion in a scant 7 plays and play action in 5 betrayed a philosophy favoring precision over pre-snap legerdemain. Receiver proficiency crested in the abbreviated to intermediate throwing quarters, manifesting an 80% completion percentage on dispatches spanning 10 to 19 yards, and invigorated by a collective 6.5 yards after catch per reception. Yet deep forays languished at a mere 12% of attempts with a 28.6% completion rate, intimating a tactical reticence to fully harness Herbert's prodigious arm despite his 74.5 passing grade in the Week 2 Raiders route, where he orchestrated 19 completions from 27 attempts for 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions per CBS Sports Recap. Total yards coalesced at 348, delineating a equilibrated yet subdued dispersal with 109 yards, harvested after the catch, while passing yards approximated 250, underpinned by a 71% adjusted completion rate and acumen in curl and crosser motifs. Rushing accrued 171 yards, wherein the paucity of breakaways, merely 4 runs eclipsing 10 yards, tempered explosiveness, and successful plays tallied 42 at 52.5%, eclipsing norms in the 1x3 formation with a 7.3-yard average. Turnovers evaporated entirely with the squad enduring only 2 drops, a testament to ball security amid Harbaugh's punch-you-in-the-mouth ethos that propelled a 20-9 Week 2 victory over the Raiders, as chronicled in Pro Football Focus's post-game dissection, where the unit's 60.4 overall grade masked a 27th ranking in explosive run rate from the prior campaign, but signaled a burgeoning 20% escalation in yards before contact through revamped backfield dynamics. Extrapolations from sharp football analysis portend a seismic ascension to a top 10 passing echelon, with Harbaugh's schematic imprint, emphasizing offensive line as the tip of the spear per his August 2025 training camp remarks, poised to orchestrate a 9-8 ledger via augmented first down conversion rates. Though USA Today's Nate Davis cautions that sans deeper verticality, the offense risks stagnation at 24 points per game against AFC West fortifications. Receiver and play design integration. The confluence of receiver aptitudes and play architectures has emerged as the linchpin of the Chargers' incipient offensive tapestry, wherein layered route constellations and spread formations have astutely mobilized personnel to forge separation and post-catch propulsion. With wide receiver lad McConkey commandeering short curls at a 91.8% completion rate, en route to a 75.9 grade and a 101.3 targeted rating, wide receiver Keenan Allen commandeering medium seams for a 73.5 grade and 40 yards after catch, and wide receiver Quentin Johnston eviscerating secondaries on deep sails via a 93.0 grade, accruing 150 yards and 52 yards after catch to affirm his 23.1% target share as the fulcrum of verticality. Running back Najee Harris has imbued drags with multifariousness, sustaining a 75% catch rate and a 73.0 grade that dovetails seamlessly with terrestrial efforts. The preeminent route amalgamations, uniformly attaining a 100% success rate alongside commanding average yards, have ingeniously interwoven these luminaries. The go intertwined with out, curl, and a reprise go in a 1x3 formation averaged 38 yards, stationing Johnston on the deep go to vertically beleaguered cover 3/3, and McConkey on the curl for seam ingress, mirroring a 60-yard Week 2 bomb to Johnston, dissected in the New York Times live blog as emblematic of Harbaugh's play-action ethos. The corner conjoined with quick out, curl, and go in a 2-by-2 configuration averaged 28 yards, segregating Johnston on the corner to pulverize man coverage in cover 1 while Harris navigated the quick out for expeditious relief valves, a motif PFF's 2025 wide receiver rankings laud for McConkey's elite 5.7 average separation. The deep in fused with out and short in a 2-by-2 framework averaged 14 yards, harnessing Allen on the deep end to stratify cover 3 zones, and Harris on the short end to reap yards after catch, aligning with Yahoo Sports' bold prognostications of Allen's resurgence yielding 1,000 yards via such layered assaults. A tetrad of comebacks superimposed in a 2-by-2 formation averaged 17 yards, conglomerating McConkey and Allen to inundate cover 2 unders, a tactic sharp football analysis credits for a 25% uptick in third down conversions early season. And the drag yoked with deep out and short, and in a 3-by-1 disposition, averaged 12 yards, and placing Harris on the drag and Allen on the deep, out to perforate cover 4-quarter interstices, per Reddit's r/Chargers discourse on Harris's 8.3 yards per route run efficiency. These vertical intermediate confluences, epitomized by go-curl dyads, have amplified Johnston's profundity and the ensemble's 6.5 yards after catch average, with motion-augmented plays vaulting an ancillary 5 yards by dislocating defensive postures, though the dearth of deep ventures, hemmed to 7 attempts, has throttled dynamism, as bemoaned in Boltbeat's 2025 manifesto, envisioning an unblemished home slate through Herbert's 4,500-yard barrage if schemed audaciously. Rushing fusion, exemplified by zone peripheries synchronized with Harris swings, has elevated his receiving grade to 74.0, notwithstanding gap middle's 2.8 yards per carry shortfall, a disparity Pro Football Focus attributes to a 27th explosive run rate inheritance, but forecasts a 20% amelioration under Harbaugh's aegis, intimating that escalated play action could emancipate 10 to 15% supplementary deep dispatches if terrestrial fidelity endures, resonating with Last Word on Sports June 2025. Treatise on 3 transformative alterations: backfield infusion, line fortification, and schematic hybridization, poised to consummate Harbaugh's vision of a 12-win juggernaut. Defensive performance summary. The Chargers' defense has coalesced into a projected top 10 bastion for the 2025 vintage, registering a 30.8% pressure rate and engendering 40 pressures concomitant with 5 sacks in inaugural forays, buttressed by preeminent coverage that straitjacketed rivals to a 66.7 passer rating conceded. Run defense yielded 3.4 yards per carry alongside a 25% stop rate, albeit tackling lapses at a 12.5% incidence sporadically engendered consequential eruptions. The pass rush quadrant appraised at 54.1, helmed by cornerback Tarheeb Still's 81.4 adjudication, coverage at 48.0, reiteratively with Still's 76.3, run defense at 62.3, shored by safety Derwin James Jr.'s 84.0, and tackling at 66.7, accentuated by defensive end Bud Dupree's 75.5. Spanning 76 targets relinquished, pass catchers appropriated 48 receptions at 63.2% for 438 yards, averaging 9.1 per ensnarement, accented by 1 interception. In run defense, 28 tackles precipitated 14 stops. From Pro Football Focus ledgers in the Raiders melee, safety Alohi Gilman inscribed an 80.4 in coverage with 2 pass breakups and not yards after catch vouchsafed in the slot, whereas Still compiled an 82.2 overall, with 5 tackles, 2 pass breakups, and 1 interception traversing 37 targets. Edge rushers Khalil Mack and outside linebacker Tuli Tuipulotu conjoined 9 pressures to splinter offensive cadences, yet interior defensive tackles fabricated 0 pressures, conceding incremental short area encroachments. The secondary phalanx, incorporating Still and James, bridled yards after catch to 9.1 per reception, extorting 3 turnovers contra the Raiders. In toto, the phalanx augurs confining adversaries to 17 to 20 points, redoubtable in man coverage yet susceptible to misdirection runs, as expounded in Yahoo Sports' nascent trend exegesis, wherein the front seven's 40 pressures veiled a 12.5% tackling miss rate susceptible to inflating yardage versus nomadic quarterbacks. though ESPN's 2025 prospectus heralds a postseason trajectory via James's hybrid versatility, elevating the cohort to paramount turnover margin potential, with Match Quarter's July preview dubbing the unit an efficiency monster primed to throttle the AFC West through a 55% third down cessation rate. Game recaps. The September 15th, 2025 fray with the Raiders redounded in a 20-9 Chargers subjugation, a paean to defensive suzerainty that begat 19 pressures while abjuring 7, straitjacketing the Raiders to 200 total yards, inclusive of 178 passing and 22 rushing. Herbert marshaled 242 passing yards and bifurcated touchdowns, a 60-yard thunderbolt to Johnston and a 10-yard ledger to Allen, devoid of interceptions, undergirded by 58 rushing yards at 3.6 yards per carry. The defense expropriated 3 interceptions and vitiated explosive sallies, with Gilman's 80.4 coverage grade and Still's 82.2, overall throttling Raiders receivers to 4.1 yards per attempt. This inexorable hegemony of the scrimmage and chronological dominion, as limned in CBS Sports Exegesis, epitomized Harbaugh's credo of corporeal hegemony, albeit the offense's modulated yield, portending circa 24 points per game, absent amplified verticality, delineates imperatives for escalation to perpetuate divisional suzerainty, per Raiders Wire's post-mortem lauding the Chargers' 2-0 inception as a harbinger of AFC West ascendancy. Pertaining the Colts versus Broncos imbroglio, on September 14th, 2025, a throbbing 29-28 Colts adjudication, the Indianapolis ensemble adroitly deconstructed the Broncos' blitz-replete contrivance, which crested the 2024 sack pantheon at 5th, through motion in 50 to 60% of plays and run-pass options in 30%, propelling 165 rushing yards at 6.6 yards per carry, helmed by Jonathan Taylor. Signal caller Daniel Jones disseminated 316 yards with a plus 14.5% completion over expected. Projecting the Chargers therein anticipates a 68 to 72 offensive grade, 24 points, approximately 120 rushing yards at 3.4 yards per carry, and 250 passing yards. The Chargers' paucity of motion endangers a 26% pressure rate confronted, yet infusing 20 to 30 yards through Herbert keepers might repel the belligerents per Better Edge's 2025 vaticinations of a postseason incursion through equilibrated onslaught. The Colts prevailed through multiplicity that neutralized man coverage and rush, conceding 316 yards. The Chargers' cadenced passes may vacillate beneath perturbation, but could attrition to a 24-20 triumph, harnessing paramount protection with 0 sacks lately relinquished, as elaborated in Sharp Football's foreword accentuating Harbaugh's blueprint's aptitude for Apex 15 proficiency confronting pugnacious bulwarks, with YouTube deep dives like a deep dive into the 2025 Los Angeles Chargers, forecasting a 12-win arc via schematic maturation. Recommendations. To vault the offensive pantheon, augment deep passing incidents to 20% from the prevailing 12% through go and post-corner deployments in 1x3 formations, zeroing on Johnston leveraging his 95.9 deep right rating, and amalgamating with play action that augurs plus 8 yards per play to paralyze linebackers, as extrapolated from YouTube dissections of Herbert's prodigious arm, catalyzing a pass-centric surge toward 4,500 yards. Escalate motion to 20 to 25% from 7% within 1x3 spreads to ascertain coverage and engender rubs, diminishing 0-yard occurrences from 28 instances while veering from 2x2 surfeit toward augmented 3x1 for capriciousness, mirroring Boltbeat's audacious prognostications of an immaculate domicile chronicle with these emendations, bolstered by PFF's 2025 draft breakdown, extolling McConkey's 95.0 man coverage grade as a vertical accelerant. Pertaining run-pass equilibrium, Interlace Harris drags succeeding runs at his 75% catch rate to precondition verticals, aspiring 180 rushing yards, and harness tight end Will Disley's 72.7 blocking grade for gap machinations contra Broncos peripheries, consonant with Reddit's r/Chargers colloquies on the ameliorated backfield's steadfastness inflating explosive rates by 25%, Per Last Word on Sports, June 2025 treatise on 3 transformative alterations: backfield infusion, line fortification, and schematic hybridization, poised to consummate Harbaugh's vision of a 12-win juggernaut. Defensively, hone tackling to beneath a 10% miss rate via regimens for interior defensive tackles, akin to Tier Tart's 66.9 run grade, and amplify cover 1 blitzes to harvest gaps, auguring 2 compelled turnovers athwart the Broncos, as Match Quarter's July preview dubs the unit an efficiency monster, primed for 55% third down cessation. Broadly enact quick-release regimens for slants and drags, which normed 0 yards, and orchestrate film perusals of clips such as the 19-yard dig-and-play C042 to calibrate zone acclamations. These stratagems prognosticate a 15% scoring efficacy, accrual, solidifying a top 10 passing offensive as per Sports Illustrated's 2025 vista of 10 conquests impelled by Harbaugh's steadfastness, with PFF's wide receiver rankings forecasting Johnston's ascent to 1,200 yards via optimized route efficiency.